Chicago with a keyboard and some tea lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius.
That's right. Hopefully my mic is working.
Clicks and
Today
tricks from his marketing hat. Evil genius. He's the WordPress king. With Spencer.
Good morning. It's Spence. It's Friday, January 16th, 2026. The 6, emphasis on 6. Also, I am a slow start today because I was out late at the unfortunate Chicago Blackhawks game where they did not perform. I'm going to also kick in real quick a shared image file and get things set up so that we can have, I think, a good recovery to an otherwise slow start. I did not get my notice emails out. You're probably getting the notice emails of today right as we speak, and I have a couple housekeeping things to do. But today I'm going to be really directed, and I'm going to focus on what I had promised before, which is outcome-based conversation, and I'm going to specifically apply the MinuteLaunch solution to those situations. By the way, if you're here today, and many of you have started to roll in, please let me know if the audio and video looks good. My test site looks good. Notice I'm in black today. It's still a bright white snowy day here in Chicago. February is going to kick our asses. Okay, give me 2 seconds, and I'm just at least posting up minimal into Twitter to let somebody know that I'm here. Okay, good. Today what I want to do is I want to talk about, for most of the clients that I'm serving with the solution, there is underneath the hood a CRM. And the CRM traditionally has been in the WordPress site through a connection with the plugin that I have something to do with from Jack Arturo, which is WP Fusion. Lately, in the last couple of years, I think it's been almost a year and a half now, Jack and myself, good morning, Ian. Jack and myself and all of our customers have been using Fluent CRM as the CRM of choice. It's so good to see you, Ann. It's been so long. Oh, I noticed too, my colors here, my default colors are off. I'm just going to leave the colors as blue. It's fine. StreamYard never really fixed their problem. But at the same time, I'm using, like, I guess you could say, their pro version, and something about the way they change themes changed my colors from orange to blue. Have no idea why. I'm just going to go with it. There we go. Okay, I just had to kick in the new thing. Okay, so back to the story. Since myself and Jack are using Fluent CRM, and many of you are, the things that I really found at the heart, the simplicity of what's going on, was CRM related activities. In other words, when I started testing the MinuteLaunch system for my customers, or testing it on potential intermediaries like yourself, the thing that would happen would be, if I started to talk about all the nuances of the things that could be done, people's eyes glazed over. What would happen is that it would be like taking them on a trip to Home Depot, walking them down the tool aisle, and after the third or fourth tool, they're just like, what? Now, I have always been a fan of Seth Godin, who is famous for a lot of things in marketing, but one of his biggest books was Purple Cow. And from there, he did a lot of other things. But Purple Cow marketing struck me many years ago, 20 years, I think it was, is interesting, because the idea was, like, let's say you're driving along in the car and you see an endless field of green hills and black and white cows. And then suddenly there's a purple cow. That is an interesting metaphor for how one gets an attention in a world of busy stuff. Similarly, in later years, he described, I think it's called hanging your picture marketing. Let's say you're selling a drill, and it's an electric drill. It's got all these modern conveniences, right? 50 pounds of torque and 14.4, well, now 18.8 volts of energy and blah, blah, blah. You could talk about the specifications and all the minutia of detail about a drill. But you know what's better for selling? Talking about how fast and easy it is to use this drill to hang that picture on the wall of your family that is why you're in the office working your ass off so hard to make money for them. In other words, by talking about and focusing on the outcome, you end up with the benefit of somebody immediately resonating with what you're selling or sharing or doing. And similarly, when I think in terms of what we've been building here together, it started, those like how it started, how it's going. Okay. How it started was Spence, with my flying interests and all the rest, getting into social networking almost 20 years ago on a social network where we ended up building some cool tools that fixed our own itch and then selling them and people loving it. And then a bad actor interfering with it and shutting everybody down. And then how it's going got all this whole journey of everything that's happened since, including WordPress and and all the relationships and the years and the building and the clients and the experiences. And it's back to where it started, except for one difference. All of the drama of WordPress had that safety net in it, which was what I had found attractive from day one anyway, which was unlike Ning and Mark Andreessen and Gina Bianchini and all those knuckleheads that I'm sure there's nice people in there somewhere, decided to just screw with everybody, 12,500 customers. Matt Mullenweg and his drama, WordPress and its drama, the flea market of WordPress plugins and its drama, thankfully have no effect on the outcome of what we're able to do here together, which now with the help of AI means we can have a mobile friendly device that you or your clients can have purple cow drill understanding of why it's valuable. And that is to say, you can use it to acquire new leads, turn the leads into prospects, hopefully into customers. You can communicate with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues. You can manage the things that are important to you in your business sense, in your public display sense, in your communication sense. And you can do it from a mobile device or do it from a desktop, laptop. But it's all in a box that you 100%, even beyond Spence, own and control. And that is hugely significant, but it's also the purple cow marketing, because when I describe now to my prospects, my leads, my customers, implementers or end users, in fact, I had a call yesterday, I guarantee this person is going to end up being a client, came in with I will be discreet until he's a customer, but came in with a business that was killing it. It's probably a 7-figure business. They sell something that's like $4,000 to $7,000 a year, and they have like 30,000 customers. And he's doing it with the stack, which is the classic stack of WordPress flea market stuff, right? It's Elementor, it's BuddyPress, it's LearnDash, it's the CRM is HubSpot. I asked him how much he's paying per month, about $3,500 a month for HubSpot. I could go down the rest of the list, that whole stack of classic stuff. And I said to him, here's a different way of doing things, because the choice was either he's going to have to fix what's wrong with this stack of vintage stuff, or I said we can build a new stack and fix this with the new stuff. But even a third choice was, what if we just took a third option as a standalone snap-on, a bolt-on, an accessory? When I was a kid in grammar school, we used to have these things called, I think they called them mobiles, but they were basically trailers that they would wheel up to the school, because the school was built before that many kids lived in the hood. So they didn't have room for the extra classrooms. They would just have a lot of classes in these mobiles. And it's like a bolt-on accessory, like a choo-choo train. And I'm 100% sure this fella is going to come around, because the math just makes sense. Here's the math. Instead of talking about the endless, look what you can do with the AI to make this image, and look what you can do to do this tool, and look what you can do with that tool. I said, really at the heart of things, you're selling a product that is, in his case, $5,000 to $7,000 a year. You have tens of thousands of customers that you want to make sure don't churn out. You have all these other leads that you want to offer interesting marketing content, modern AI. You want to build and continue. I'm going to use my toys. The journey with tagging. They saw this, clicked this, bought this, did this, and do it in a way that requires less human skills and interaction, less moving parts, less buying a shovel and going to Home Depot. That message immediately resonates. Because when I'm describing that, I'm saying, here's our starting point. You know you've got a business that's successful despite the tools. You know that you've got a revenue stream of X currently. You know that you're spending Y currently, including $3,500 a month on your CRM. So whether it's Active Campaign and you're spending $700 a month, which is what a lot of my clients are getting as a bill, or HubSpot, which is $1,500 to $3,000, or Salesforce, which I've seen scary nightmare stories. Most people are spending many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month on just the CRM alone. And when we use the MinuteLaunch system, as I'm going to demonstrate for you in a minute, with the key components, just focusing on that alone, a thing in their phone that they can talk to that does amazing stuff and gets their contacts managed in a CRM, that they can make things that are viral and contagious, that will be shared, that lead back to their sales pages, lead back to a communication channel opening, lead back to them being considered one of the gang when, you know, you meet people at an event and you take a funny picture and you do, like, you know, we've talked about, you can become one of the gang very quickly because the people involved don't like have any barriers to say, oh, that's hilarious, I'm going to share it with my friends, I'm going to share it with my office, I'm going to share it with my social media list. Okay, let me set something up here because I want to do a little housekeeping. I was doing some housekeeping on one of the plugins, which was the MinuteLaunch image editor. John Lawler and a bunch of other people had notified me that they were having trouble, and I just checked it. I was meaning to update our image editor plugin to the new version 5.78, which will enable both the new Gemini 3.0 and the ChatGPT 5.2 image editing. So I'm at 5.7.8. Let me actually just see if the Pufka server, you guys talk amongst yourself. Let me see if the Pufka server has this already updated by the plugin. If not, I'm going to manually update it. And hopefully I won't break everything during the show. But the reason I'm going to do this is I want to show you like what a typical use case will be like for you to demonstrate to any prospect that for $97, $197, $497, they can essentially save thousands of dollars a year, but also do something that's not only fun, but very effective for what their outcome is, right? Like they can hang that picture on the wall. And you're doing it in this back to purple cow method because there's just an endless amount of black and white cows when you talk about features. When you talk about the one thing that saves them thousands of dollars and is fun, that gets them noticed, that's the purple cow. That's what they immediately notice. I don't think that it updated automatically. So let me actually just see if I get lucky here. I was really just winging it this morning. I had a little bit of a headache. We went out to a fabulous dinner at Mart Anthony's before the game, a good old-fashioned Italian restaurant. And I did not drink, but I did have a headache this morning anyway. Who knows why? Okay, so hang in there. Sorry, kids. Image editor. I think I've got my dudes down to the point where it's going to be fine. I've been having pretty good luck with this. Let's see. I need to go to 5.7.8. It went to 5.8.0. We'll see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to share the screen now. No preparation. This could just be a disaster. It might break, but I'm going to see it like on a site that also I could share with you the older version in case. All right, so here we go. I also want to point out that one of the things that has been amazing in general about doing things this new way is that I have now a dashboard that I can show to somebody, and very quickly, all of the mechanics of WordPress that used to be so complex are just so easy now. Okay, I think you guys can see the screen. I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to go to a demo site that I've been running called the Easy Site. This is on InstaWP. So this just also demonstrates for me how ridiculously simple things can be, because I know that I'm offering a hosted solution, of course, on Rocket that has unlimited email support from me, all of the security and the CDN and the firewall. But even in an InstaWP, it's one plugin. Just to review for those of you who just showed up, unlike and by the way, let me also go to the back end because I'm using this site for live clients, which has been awesome. Let me turn off Simple Site Focus. And let me just show you the stack of plugins I've got here, how minimal it is. And Anne, who's been away for so long, she might be pleasantly surprised to see this, because this is inspired a lot by what she experienced with her customers in the past. If I go to the MinuteLaunch plugin manager and I just disable this for a moment, I want you to see how few plugins are installed here. I have one plugin that does most of the heavy lifting. I've got Fluent SMTP to actually connect the email and marketing to the outside mail carrier. I have Fluent CRM, the light free plugin, and then I have the Pro. But I want to demonstrate something. I do not need the Pro. I'm going to delete the Pro. It's nice to have it because we include it in the bundle, but you do not need it. So for Anne or John or whoever else is here, because nobody else has said hi, thanks, guys. I want you to see what your new world can look like. You're going to need a sales and transaction engine like WooCommerce or MinuteLaunch or like Fluent Cart. But aside from that, this is pretty much the stack that's doing almost everything now, which is pretty amazing to me. When I turn on the MinuteLaunch plugin manager, the new concept, and again, and this is to your benefit as well, the new concept is we have two tools. Good morning, Marcus. Marcus, by the way, I did get your email and I was late at night, so I didn't answer you, but you're going to need to update to this morning too. I'll make sure that you and there was a bunch of other emails of folks that are not on the latest version. I'll make sure that you get updated if you're not already. Okay. So in any event, when I go over here, there's two focus buttons at the top. One is the MinuteLaunch Launch Kit, which is the new version of our Launch Kit that allows you to hide all of this crap at the top of the page, all of the WordPress notices. The second is Simple Site Focus. And this is like a file cabinet drawer, open, closed. And why is this important? Because look what happens when I am in a site with 3 plugins. Simple Site Focus is enabled. Notices are hidden. Do you feel the difference in this experience? Because look, I only have my plugin manager that manages all of the updates. And we know that I just did an update. So I'm going to see if this works. It did it, by the way, it did it automatically. I didn't even have to do anything. That's the whole point. MinuteLaunch Image Editor or any plugin is just one button. So for Anne, who's had clients that are very smart professionals, but very nervous around technology, this is it. If they need a get started guide, this guide is one of my projects for this weekend. And I'm going to show you what I've been doing with the dude. But I'm going to do outcome-based documentation. This documentation will cover all of the likely outcomes and skills in about as simple a format as you see here. How do I get my picture hung on the wall? i.e., how do I create a great newsletter instantly? How do I add new contacts? How do I sell something fast? I'm not ever, never going to talk again about here's how you set up WooCommerce and you get into the menu. Here's how you do cadence and you set up this. Like, it almost does my head in because I have an archive page and you guys were here really for this. WP Launch Kit is how it started, right? Like when I started rebranding it. The site is no use to me anymore. So I made it a memorial to all of those things that Beth Odin and Ann and a bunch of you helped me do, like how to set up customer dashboards, how to do WooCommerce shop page. I mean, there's like an infinite amount of stuff in here. When I look back on it, and Ann, give me a high five if you agree, absolutely exhausting to try to keep up with, not just how to do something simple, but also just keeping it documented, right? This just all goes away. John asks, how do I update Claude for multiple sites? I'm not sure if I understand your question, John. What does that mean, update Claude for multiple sites? I don't even know the nature of what you're asking. I presume you're asking something about the MCP and you want to use it on multiple sites, but can you rephrase that for me? Because I'm going to sip some coffee and see if that helps. Going back over here. So having this arrangement means it's nearly impossible for somebody to get frustrated or lost. And this is mobile friendly too. Simple Site has had some significant improvements. And again, if you haven't been back in a while, there's only 4 things to do here. And a client may or may not have to look at any or all of them. The top menu bar gives us this capacity to export anything that we've created as a full solution, a full site. Import a new one. I did that last week when I showed you, for example, the gorgeous layouts and designs that I'm doing either for existing clients or that other MinuteLaunch customers are doing. Like I showed you, with Doug Sheehan, he's got the gorgeous dynamic made with his dude Axel's design in Simple Site. And I took Doug's and I put it into here. 2 seconds later, I was done. I'm not going to do that again per se. You also can load this with sample content. You can preview whatever you've got. Now, in this case, I was doing some stuff with a real client showing, look, we can maybe make a real dashboard. And so with this new client, I did that. Here's, if I still have the client site up, I may or may not. Hold on. I'm going to look here because I had a bunch of client stuff that was working. I'm going to clean up a few of these lost links. I don't know if I have that client site still up, but I can show it to you. But the point is, it's not really relevant. The point is that I'm going to get rid of actually a lot of this junk. The point is that we can easily replace this or go back in time. And so even if I'm a newbie, even if I'm a business owner, I could just review what was done. Watch this. If I know of an import, I can import. But if I don't, I can go to the new site setup menu and I've got revisions. And what's cool is it has a title that says what was done, how many blocks, what, if I want to see what it looks like, I can actually look at it, right? So this version is what I'm at. Let's go back a little bit. Here's where I was showing her how we can build like intake forms. And this is during a live call yesterday. Here's something I was doing with a client that I was showing how I can build stuff and change the colors. But I can even go back in time, way back to, a few days ago, 3-4 days ago, and see other stuff that I'd built and restore it. If I want to go crazy, I can use that import. Let me see if I can still see Doug Sheehan's thing, because I think I left it in my downloads. Here it is. So watch, if I just take the export from Doug's site and I say, yeah, let's do this. I save that. And now, like, I just want to pause because going back to my simple outcome marketing, going back to talking to a customer. And if you are still there and listening, you're talking to one of your clients that's a nutritionist. Imagine he, she, they can have a gorgeous outcome site that's built in this very simple dashboard where all of the parts can be seen and edited with the tool in here or you, but then they have a single page or multi-page site that has everything they need to do their marketing, add customers, be found, do social. And you or it or they can change it with a couple words without having to do really much of anything. For an example, you or they or it, I mean, I'm talking about the persons or the things, can take this panel where it says marketing and growth for the next generation of motorsports. And there's a couple ways this can be done. The AI assistant can just modify this block, but I would be prescriptive. I would just take this thing and I would go to the AI assistant and I would say, I'm going to look at it in the canvas instead of a brand new block. And I'm going to just give it what I've got. And I'll just do like you normally do with the other dude. I'll say, hey, I like the design of this block, but I want you to change the headline to say, hey, it's Spence from MinuteLaunch, and we're having a fun office hours. Leave everything else the same and give me back the content. Okay, so the point is, if your customer needs this on mobile or desktop, they can actually ask for the dude that's working inside of the site, living inside of the site. Notice, this is not an MCP. I can choose down here. It's very hard to see. It's very tiny. I will zoom in, but there is down here a drop down that lets you pick which LLM you want to use in the site. No need to connect the MCP. Can you connect the MCP and use the dude in the site? Absolutely. If I understand John's question, he would go to the Fluent MCP, open up the Setup and Install tab, and in there, you're going to see the configuration file. Just copy that, and then you go over to Claude or Cursor, and you put it in. Now, I think I actually know what John is asking. John's asking, how do I set up Claude without a DXT file? That's what I'm remembering from an email he gave me last week. So I'm going to change real quick and show how that's done since I'm at this point. So let me change my screen share, which you guys know is always fascinating here in StreamYard. I'm going to share, if I can pull this off, let me see. I'm going to share Claude specifically. So I took, well, actually, I'll do the whole screen because that way, in case I have to show everything. So stop screen, add, screen share. I just wish this was easier. I'm just going to do Claude. Okay, so here's Claude, and I just copied that file that you saw me do. We go into the upper left corner, and for Claude, we go to settings, and I just go to the developer settings. That's the fastest thing. Developer. See where it says edit config? Click on that, and that's going to open up a file that, unfortunately, the way I'm sharing this, you cannot see. It's a desktop config JSON file. I'm going to have to change the share because this is what annoys me about StreamYard. It gives me a choice of either or, but not a good one. Let me add a different one. Hold on. I'm going to have to share the whole screen. Oh, StreamYard. Okay, so let me get me out of the way. What I had done here is I had gone into, this is my whole kit and caboodle. I had gone into the upper left corner and clicked on settings, and then I went to developer, and then I go to edit config, and then it pulls up the window of the config file. And if I open that up with my IDE, I can literally just paste in that whole file. And when I paste in that whole file, the cool thing is I am good to go. I can do Control S to save it. Then I close this down, and you want to restart him. Okay. And when I restart him, we can actually then do the rest of the stuff that is expected when you're working with Claude. Like you want to ask him, hey, are you connected? So let's restart him, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is an example of how actually Claude Desktop with this new setup is actually very, very, very powerful, because now he will be connected, and I can just double check to see, does he have what we need in the way of the MCPs? And if I go to connectors, you see how it's got Fluent MCP, Cart, Community 1, Community 2, CRM, WP. I can turn on or off any of these connectors. I don't need all of them. But like, for example, I don't have a cart, so I'm going to turn that off. I don't have the community turned on. I'll turn that off. I do have the CRM and WordPress, so I'll leave those on. And now I could just ask him, let's move him over to the right. and I'll move this over to the left. Now I can just ask him using step 2, test and configure. And here's the prompt. And I give him the prompt. And this is exactly like it was before. Good morning, Julie. Except I don't have to deal with the DXT file, and I don't have to deal with the differences between Claude and Cursor. They both work exactly the same now. And that's also made it easier for me to do more, because now I can build stuff that is universal without having to have 3 different versions. So he's ready to go, and he's working on, by the way, I guess this is a good example. He's working on this site. So remember over here, I was working with this dude and I got lost in the conversation. So, maybe I don't know what happened. Maybe he lost the thread. So I'll have to just refresh the thing and grab it back. But remember I asked him to change that top panel. Let me just grab it, because while I was working on him, I obviously knocked him out of the box. But I could go back over here. And if I was doing this manually, look, I just replaced that top panel, save it, and refresh. And watch, that should change without changing the style. See? So it changed exactly. Hey, it's Spence from MinuteLaunch, and we're having a fun office hours. That kind of level of simplicity is, hey, would you like to hang a picture of your friends and family, or your family, on the wall with this drill? And this is a famous story. So if you go to Seth Godin, hang a picture. This is from one of his last books. Story, hanging a picture. Yeah, it's called The Hang. I don't know if that's in this right. It's in the book The Dip. So if you want to read it, it's in the book The Dip. Seth, The Dip. I read it a couple years ago, but it stuck with me. So he uses the analogy of hanging a picture or frustrating mundane task to illustrate the dip. The long slog between starting and mastery. And when just go read the thing, the book is called The Dip. When you read it, you'll understand that sometimes it's better for us to go right to the ending and explain that ending. And so this is metaphorically what I think we're achieving here. I have now a tool that, even though John asked for it and I was able to show you, now he needs to add a second domain to the config file. You just duplicate the config file. So all you do, by the way, for everybody who's asking, John is asking, how does he do multiple sites with one Claude? Well, first of all, what I'm going to tell you is you're going to make Claude very unhappy if you start adding a ton of sites to it, because what's going to happen is he's got to decide between which of these sites do you mean, John? And instead of it being 5 different sets of tools for one site, it's going to be 10 sets of tools for 2 sites, or 15 sets of tools for 3 sites. And John, I know you have kids. Imagine when your kids were teenagers going, hey, I need you to do not 1 thing or 2 things. I need you to do 5 things with 25 different options in it. How often do you think they would get that right? 0. I don't think it's a good idea. I think what you should do, John, instead is decide which site you're working on and just keep the config file handy. And when you need to do so, swap out the config file for one site with 5 sets of tools. I know you turn it off, and that's probably okay. So I accept that as that's logical. As long as you understand the concept, too many tools makes Claude an unhappy boy. That's all I want you to understand. Okay. But what's cool about this, if I go back over here, back to my dip metaphor, is, okay, he now knows what's going on. Watch this. Hey, Bernardo, I've got an example of MinuteLaunch simple site blocks. The top block says, hey, it's Spence from MinuteLaunch, and we're having a fun office hours. Can you edit that content but leave the design of that top block completely the same and have it say, hey, it's Fernando. I'm your AI assistant inside of MinuteLaunch instead. and just automatically change and update it for me. Now, I'm crossing my fingers because I've never actually tried this experiment, but I think it'll work. John, just keep them as separate files on your desktop. All you need is a config JSON file is just a blob of code. You can keep it in a local folder or a directory and just say, here's my config for this site, that site, the other site, and you can just hot swap it. I'm not saying you can't do what you said with the toggles, but even then, I've just tried it and it's just too many options. So what he's doing here, if you do prefer to have a desktop dude, is he's able, I don't know if you can read this, it's kind of small. He's reading, perfect. I can see the hero section in block 1. I'll just update that. He knows what's going on, and let's refresh. It must be a good day for me. I'm going to have a good weekend. See, he's able to change it. Hey, I'm Fernando, your AI assistant inside of MinuteLaunch. You can hot swap to GitHub. I think you're getting hung up on the nuance of this with no reason. If you go to GitHub, you can just save files in GitHub in any repository, right? Like you can literally make a snippet file or make a repository, but you can also just do Google Drive. There's nothing precious about these JSON config files. They're just literally a blob of text. So any text editor, any text file is fine because you're just copying and pasting them. Anyway, back to this for the moment is, this to me is remarkable. And again, I don't know if Anna's still here, but Julie's here. And I know Julie and I have been working with this, and Julie's been through the whole thing. So now what I can do is I can go to a client and like the dip, like Seth Godin. You're welcome, John. And sorry, I'm not trying to be fast with you, but like I happily help you afterwards with the nuances of that, but I don't think you're going to have any trouble with this at all. Imagine you go to an event. It's photographers, it's skeet shooters, it's business people, it's gun owners, it's nutritionists, it's doctors, whatever. And you now go, hey, let's take a picture, everybody. Snap, 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 like I did at the hockey game last night. Now you've got a tool that you can instantly modify to make something funny and amusing. Now, what do I mean by funny and amusing? There's so many things that I do here, but like not the least of which is, remember I was showing you in the past, I used Canva to make, the images for today. Today, I used ChatGPT to test whether or not it would work out for the image that I'm using in today's thumbnail with Canva. So I took my standard headshot and I said, create a photorealistic image of this guy typing on his phone in a coffee shop. Now, the reason that I did it here was because I wanted to test whether or not it'd be a good idea. And this is the scary thing. I have not tested this, kids. So like, let's be fair to Spence, Uncle Spence. I just did a hot update of our plugin called MinuteLaunch Image Editor. And I added some features that hopefully do not break the crap out of it, so that with the same open router key that you get as part of this kit, no, see, it failed. It failed. So that's going to be a drag. I'm going to have to just explain to you, because what's going to happen is what I was it's a failure. What I was attempting to do, and I will do after the show, is that you guys know that when I'm in here, I've got the ability to create an AI image. John and many others had said, wouldn't it be super cool if I can do this with the new tools like ChatGPT 5.2 or Google Gemini Flash 3.0. Either way, when I'm using the mobile device, I can create content with Simple Site while I'm at an event, and then save it, share it, produce a new landing page, a sales funnel, create an email, and I can even watermark the content. Because this has been handicapped by my trying to do a hot update, I'll just explain to you where and how this comes in. Simple Site's AI dude knows about the image editor and can use it independently. So can Claude or Cursor. So they can actually do it for you. But we also have this mobile mode. And this mobile mode is the really fun part, because when we look at this, and I'm going to do this like to simulate the shape of a phone. Good morning. If I simulate the shape of a phone, which is exactly what happens when I use it live on my phone, and I will go to my phone to prove this. Easy site. I don't know if you can see this here, but I've got the very exact same thing on my phone. Now, let's say I'm at an event and I want to do something cool. I'm going to do it live here just to prove it, and then I'll do it there. I just take my phone and I click in the little box, just like a mobile app should be, and I talk into it and I say, add John Suzuki, john@suzuki.com. His address is 1234 Suzuki Lane, Chicago, Illinois, 1234. His phone number is 312-576-1212, and add him to the main list with the tag of awesome lead. You can see here's the words. I don't know if my video is live. And now I'm going to hit enter. What this does is it instantly and automatically adds John Suzuki as a contact, as a lead. And I'm going to show you on the screen as well. But what happens then is with one more click, I've got John in my CRM. And I'm going to show you here as a contact. I'm going to do this now that I proved it. Look, here's John Suzuki. John Suzuki is now somebody that I can create content with, go to his CRM profile. Notice he was instantly added to the main list. He was instantly given a new tag that had not existed before. It instantly had put all of the details of him. Yes, John asked, can a new tag be created? Yes, that's the amazing thing. And it can also be used to go and take a picture like of a business card or of a QR code. So I'm going to show you some examples. But the point is, once he's in here, everything else awesome that you want to do could be done. Like for example, let's ask Bernardo. Hey, Bernardo, can you look in my contacts? Do you see a guy named John Suzuki? Now, I would do this from the phone, but I'm saying it can also be that your dude on the desktop is running it, or the dude inside of the site is running it. What's really amazing, if you think about the purple cow example, or you talk about outcomes, is most of it's interesting his answer, because that's not correct, but let's see if he's wrong. Oh, he found it on second thought. Okay. So what's interesting about purple cow marketing is, let's go back to this page here. I have 2 pages on this topic. This page here. Cancel $2,400 a month in CRM costs and run everything from your phone. Now, we famously talked about even ActiveCampaign is expensive. And so many people are using ActiveCampaign. If we look at their pricing, they used to be really reasonable, and now they are just not. A normal business is going to have 5,000 contacts. That's a minimum. They're going to be at pro or enterprise to get the features they need or want, because you can't really see this, but like conversion tracking, predictive content, like all landing page here, predictive content, attributive and conversion tracking, multiple users. Like, who's going to run a company where you can't do those things and you're still at $145 a month? So let's call it $205 a month. Then you have the other costs involved. You have the costs, for example, I'm going to go to the right article. You have the cost, even in ActiveCampaign, of somebody has to know how to use ActiveCampaign, and they have to be paid to make stuff and do stuff. And then you're going to need, because you don't have it with ActiveCampaign alone, a website and hosting. And then you're going to need somebody who knows how to do stuff with that. And then you're going to need somebody that knows how to run a true marketing campaign for you, like newsletter. And when you go through the whole list of stuff, and I outline it, for example, into here, even ActiveCampaign's expensive, like a couple thousand a month. But if you go to the real big boys, like HubSpot, which so many of my clients seem to be on, HubSpot is by itself going to cost $1,800 to $2,000 a month, which is pretty remarkable to me. So not to belabor the point, but when you go to your client and they see, you mean like for 2,000 contacts, it's $900 a month, 10,000, 10,000 contacts starts at $3,600 a month. When they start to do the math and you say, well, what if I just gave you this thing that runs your whole website, your contacts, your phone, connects as easily as I did to a dude, and it can do things like instantly keep track of what you're doing and make fun stuff. Like, for example, if I asked it, I'll just do this manually. If I asked it to take this picture of me, I think I have pictures of me and my kids, but like, let me just use this. Let's pretend this was just me and some people at an event that I had just taken a picture. Oh, actually, maybe I have it in my media library, but add in 2 more people to this picture that are males in their 50s at a business meeting, and have them all sitting around the bar drinking, but change the photo to be like it's 1950s, like Desilu Productions, kind of like you'd see on an old TV show style with fedoras, and they're drinking cocktails like Mad Men, and give it to me in a rectangular 16:9 format. And one other thing, what I would do, like, for example, running this in MinuteLaunch, I would say something like, and put a watermark band at the bottom that looks like scripted style that says brought to you by MinuteLaunch.com. What I have found in the real world in the past is that when I send somebody something fun or viral or campy, and I do it like a normal person, they immediately have understanding of what it's fun for and what it's good for, and they share it. They send it to other people via email. They send it to other people by posting into their email list. They put it on their website. When you go back to these tools, I'll come back to this in a second, and you say to somebody, hey, I've got this really amazing tool, and it's mobile. And you can, for example, take a picture, I'll add you in, and then I'm going to create content. I can create stuff instantly with what's in the site using the media library, or uploading, like, for example, from my site, here's like a picture of me trike and roll. And I can say, let's create an HTML5 email letter, right? And I'd be like, hey, create an awesome new email letter to my MinuteLaunch customers that says, hey, this new feature is available where you can take your images and turn them into printable t-shirt logos. You can get it now at MinuteLaunch.com, and sign it from Fernando, Spence's AI assistant. Make the email look like it was sent on a real word processor in the old days. Okay, so whatever this prompt that you use to make the content can be also a skill that's saved and memorized. But when you do it, I've just told it as simple as that on my mobile phone to create content on the spot based upon stuff that I just took a photo of and just updated and just made. And when it does that, here's the content itself, right? I'm not saying this is awesome or perfect. I can also modify it and tell it, I'm going to get rid of the make it look like an email instead. I'm going to say, include the attached reference image as well as an example of, hey, look, I made a rock and roll t-shirt from my trike flying adventures. Okay, so I'm going to remake this, because the idea is once you come up with a recipe or a formula or something that works, save it as a skill along with the pre-made skills that I'm sharing with you, because that means that your employee will be trained to have everything that it needs ready to go. So here's the code, and I can use this to just press a button and send a quick email, or I can copy this and build something else with it. I can further refine, the code or whatever else I want to do. I can browse for other stuff. So what I'm saying is, if I do this tool, I can then go ahead and make my email ready to go, search for the context like John Suzuki or whomever. The CRM is associated to this particular setup, right? Like here's John Lawler. I'll send it to John Lawler and I'll send it to John Suzuki. So if I go Suzuki, it's interesting. I know he's in there, but John Suzuki isn't showing up for some reason, but I have everybody else. Maybe because I did this all in one process, I have to refresh the page. So I'll send it to John Lennon and John Lawler, and I go like, hey, get your new t-shirt feature, whatever. And then I send the email. Now, you guys understand that when I sent it to them, I want to see what happens. So notice down here, I've got a link to go look at what John Lawler's contact contains. And John Lawler, who's in my CRM on my phone or otherwise, now has, in addition to other things, the actual email that I just created and sent to him. So what I'm saying, if it's not obvious, is the thing that I show to people now is with zero complexity, zero skills, zero overhead, one main plugin, I can now give them something that for a fixed price, $97, $197, $497, creates and builds and manages everything they need to do. And they can do it from the desktop, from a phone. When they do it from the desktop or the phone, they have every single thing they ever made saved to be reused, and even skills like how to build an awesome contact form or intake thing or an accordion, or how to do a great email, or once I fixed the image editor plugin today, generate cool content that goes in the media library that's available to be used. And since the dude in the site works in conjunction with the dude on the desktop, but they can both save stuff here, that means you don't even need to have, like I've just asked with John, you don't even need to have GitHub. I mean, it's nice to use it, but like everything that's saved or created or shared or built can be here in the site. And then the final thing too, because it's just an update, many of my customers had asked, and I'm going to go to this site here. Oh, that's not the right hosting. Many of my clients have asked, well, what about my customers on the front end? Can't I give them interaction with the back-end dude or with the data? And I go, yes, you can. So here's a feature that I've already built that I'm going to come out with for the rest of you guys as part of the MinuteLaunch system. That's the front-end AI component for people who are customers. You're going to want people to be logged in, of course, but this is here, UBR Coach. This is what it looks like, where there's an interface for your logged in customers where they can ask and keep track of anything they want to know about the site, about the social network, about the information that you're building, you're sharing, you're selling, even if you want it about other customers and things. And the reason why that's useful is because that's how you can control and build a value proposition of like, look, here's a question I asked last week about self-employment tax for a single person proprietary LLC. I can go back to this and just pick up the conversation and keep learning, keep interacting, but in a way that on the back end shares and saves everything I asked from the customer standpoint with the dashboard here for UBR Coach. All of those conversations are saved and available. Now, put this all together. One price, one simple interface that can be set up in 3 minutes or less with even no need to go to a desktop. And I've got something that is simple enough for anybody to understand as a proposition, let's say. In other words, I don't have to talk about the 100 different tools that are inside of Home Depot in the shovel department. I simply go, in 3 minutes, you log in, a site exists that can be turned into whatever you want it to be with pre-made skills, or you as an implementer, your particular help. And the client themselves can use it from a phone for doing the things that instantly mean something to them. Let's go back to my ChatGPT. Here's an image that it made. If I took this image, and again, I'm doing it off the site. But if I save this, let's see, this was me and my 2 people that I met at this new business meeting. I'll just save this image temporarily to the desktop. Spence, B&W. And let's say John Lawler and I, let's say John Lawler was one of these guys. And let's say I'm inside of the site builder. All I got to do is I go to the AI assistant and I can do one of 2 things. Well, first thing I would probably do is using the image editor, I would have uploaded it to the media library, right? So let me just do that manually for the moment. My apologies about hot updating things, but I don't like to wait. And when I got the notices that the API was no longer valid for Google Flash Images 2.5, I just decided let's fix it. Okay, so if I just take this from the media library and I go back to Simple Site Focus, I'm going to go to my site builder, or I can, by the way, let's do fun. If I go to the dude over here, Claude, let's have him do something first. Hey, Bernardo, here's a new image that I just uploaded. Can you create an HTML5 email suitable for Fluent CRM that says, hey, it was so great to see you guys at the new meeting, John Lawler and Ann Stevenson, that I hope we can get together again. Cheers, Spence. Now, I'd probably be more campy than that. I'd probably say something like, let me do it again, actually, because I would say something related to the picture, like, hey, John and Ann, it was such a, quote, great old time, end quote. I hope to see you again in the 50s. Let's meet again at that oldie-timey bar like we did and have another drink. Otherwise, let's talk about what business stuff we can do, blah, blah, blah. Cheers, Spence. Okay, and I'll say, make it look like it was on a typewritten page from the 1950s. Okay, point I'm saying is whether I do it here, and I'm going to save this prompt so I can use it twice. The dude can do it, or the built-in dude can do it. I like the built-in dude for this because I've already got my phone and I can just talk into it and have it do it. But the idea is, from a marketing standpoint, this is a skill I can refine and create for you. You can refine and build it as a skill. The skills are here, where if I go to settings, I can do a custom skill, right? So add a new skill, and I'll, like, make, I call it typewritten, oldie timey, whatever. I create an image, make it black and white, add a handwritten letter that looks like it was typed in the 1950s, give it a trigger name, and then put all the details of the layout in there. When you do a skill like this, you don't literally have to do anything else. Now, with the dude on the desktop, he's actually hopefully made it properly with MinuteLaunch Canvas block. What did he do? Let's see, maybe he's confused because we're running Simple Site. Let me see if he made a block or what he did. Hold on. Let me just confirm for him. You know what I'm not sure of is we're using Simple Site right now. So can you make it the top block, a content block in Simple Site, so I could just show everybody what you made? That's an interesting example, by the way, of when you're using the remote LLM agent, you have to be really super duper duper specific about where you want something to go, because I don't know, maybe he made a page. I don't really understand what he did. He didn't say. He gave me a URL, but if I go to pages, let's see if that's what he did. I think that's what he did here. He just did probably a draft. Let's say letter from Spence, 1950s. So like the letter's there, but there's also another issue, which is that I'm using Simple Site and that takes over the permalinks. So here's what he actually made. In order to get this to display, I would have to properly, put it into the content block, because Simple Site is managing all the content. So that's what I've asked him to do. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but when Simple Site is in use, the reason it's so simple, hence the name, is that you don't use pages anymore. It takes over for that if you're setting it up as the root. It's cool that you can have pages, but you have to accommodate for those separately now, because Simple Site otherwise manages everything from its own site builder. Okay, let's see if he did it. He's claiming he did. So I'm going to refresh the page, and we're going to come on home with the rest of the stuff. Okay, so see, he made the block, 1950s letter from Spence. I'm kind of excited to see what he did. And so now the homepage is the 1950s letter, hey, John and Ann. Now, one of the things he didn't do, but I should have told him, okay, I love that, but I need you to feature that image at the top and put it in there like it was, kind of like an old picture, a printed picture, sort of askew sitting on top of the letter. Okay. These are the nuances, as they say, that I don't care where. Oh, he did put it. Actually, I see where he put it. He put it up in the upper left corner. I didn't even notice that. This is the difference. People who love design will continue to talk about, look at all the CSS I can do and on JavaScript. And like, I used to do that. I'm very proficient at that. I do not want to do that anymore. This is infinitely better. I mean, even for Doug Sheehan's thing, like Doug's a geek like me. He is not a designer. And look at this crazy stuff that he made, right? Like, this was first try. So my position is, if you want to become good at CSS, become good at CSS, learn how to do stuff. I don't care. I would rather do stuff like where it takes a picture and makes it into a Polaroid, and I could tell it to crop it a little better and stuff. But the point is, this would have taken me all day to make. But when I send this out to somebody via an email, whether it's the link, which I could share, or the actual output in a Fluent, by the way, this is universal, so I can put this into Fluent CRM as an email. That's going to get me instant understanding, instant marketing attention, right? So if I go to Fluent CRM and just do this manually and create an email template, I send this out, I guarantee somebody like John Lawler, Ann Stevenson, a customer, a client, a prospect, they're going to get a kick out of this and be way more excited to share this than if I send them some really humdrum, boring, whatever it is, kind of old-fashioned stuff, right? And that's the takeaway from that. All right, I want to bring it in on a couple other roundups. Some things that I'm doing that are relevant. First of all, even though this has been a great example of how the desktop dude works just as well as ever, he has some additional tools in Fluent MCP Pro that are very powerful and could be very scary in what they can do. So he can do WordPress settings, theme management, plugin, utilities, config files, WooCommerce, WordPress CLI, database manipulation. So, for example, hey, can I ask you a question? You have tools to let you manipulate my database and manage my plugins, right? So this has always been true, but now it's really even more powerful than before because I updated his capabilities with the Fluent MCP Pro. And if you use this with discretion, you're going to be fine. If you do crazy stuff, you're going to break crazy stuff. He also can write plugins. Plugins are helper plugins. These are now things that we can do so much from the pages that I don't think you should be doing heavy duty stuff on the back end like we used to have to do. He's claiming he doesn't have direct database access, but he does, because if we look here, under WordPress, where is it? The first one, hold on. Here, under this one, his tools inside of here are quite extensive. He does have it. So I'm just going to tell him something. Well, actually, you do have 63 pro tools now inside of the toolkit for the WordPress MCP. If you look closely, you'll see you can do all kinds of file system operations and more. And sometimes if you want, you can just copy the API docs or just copy this page and paste it to him, and he'll figure it out. But it's not really super important, because once you get over this one little introduction thing, The point I'm saying is like, he's very competent at writing a plugin, a helper plugin, managing a plugin, or he can install something. If you still need one of the traditional plugins, he can go into the MinuteLaunch launch kit and grab one of the traditional plugins you need. Like, for example, we need WooCommerce. We want to use it on the site. We want to make a product. You don't any longer have to worry about doing that, setting it up, getting it. He can just do it for you. So look at all the crazy shit he can do. And again, the dude can do these things too, but he's not in the site. The dude in here is not as fully set up as the desktop MCP. So for example, let's test you out. Can you install and activate WooCommerce and set up the basics for it, and then create a product called Fernando can set up a product. And then what I need you to do though is to display in the top panel of MinuteLaunch Simple Site a new sales tab using the skills that you have for creating sales that offer click here to buy this new product. The idea being, I want to demonstrate if you can, without any help from me, set up everything necessary to buy a simple product in WooCommerce, give it a price of $24, and get it connected inside of the design and the layout using your skills. Okay, that was a lot. Like that's like I just hired a dude from overseas, and I just like, hey, listen, I got a business, just run it for me. I said, go find the plugin, install the plugin, turn on the plugin, set up the plugin, go make a product, go create a panel. Like that was a shit ton of stuff. Can dude install the plugin created in Gemini? John, you're talking to me in riddles today, and I don't know if you're trying to be nice or you're trying to make me figure you out. Can you install a plugin created in Gemini or Claude Code? Yes. I think what you're asking is, can we create something over there and put it into here? Absolutely, if that's what you mean. And let's do a test of that. We're going to go over here. We're going to go, hey, Mr. ChatGPT, who I don't like because you're mean to me. Can you make me a very simple WordPress plugin, a single file that says, hello, John Lawler, and scrolls it across the top of the screen on every page, and give me the code back. Okay, so ChatGPT, like I said, treats me very badly. He always messes around. I don't know what's wrong with it, but like it does great job for images. It's really mean when it comes to plugins, but we'll test them here. Now, on the right side, and I'm going to go to my lunch with my buddies in a couple minutes, but I want to show you this. So look, install and activate WooCommerce. Done. Create the product. Fernando can set up a product. Done. Create a sales block for Simple Site. Done. Moving it to the top of the page. Like, can I just do this for a second? I'm going to do this. I like when I do this. Can I just do this? Can you guys freaking believe where we're at with this since my hot tub moment in July? I mean, I just want you guys to really think about this. I mean, John Lawler, ultimate fan and customer, and a bunch of the rest of you guys who are here too. If Anne's still here, Julie, I know, is all in. Marcus. Can you believe we're living in this place where I now have been able to create, one dude, a tool for all of you guys to use that allows us to do this kind of stuff? I mean, we've got like this thing alone. This would have been, I don't know, an entire weekend just to set up and making the content. Don't get me started. But like, I cannot believe that I'm living in this world where I'm able to make these tools, and I'm doing other crazy stuff too for other clients. It's just overwhelmingly exciting. But to be able to now sell it where I have a phone call and I explain to somebody, look, you can have this thing in your hand that does all your marketing by talking to you. I do not have to sell anything. I just say, you wanted a picture of you and your family on the wall. Here's the drill that does everything. Watch. Picture hung. Ta-da. Saved you a whole weekend and $400. They go, okay, here's your money. And for Anne and other people who have clients that are not technical, there's nothing to do. Gemini is in the site, John. So can you talk in full sentences for me today, please? Because I feel like you and I talk in full sentences all the time. And you're doing like code language. Add Gemini into site. What does that mean? John, I've only got so much coffee in me. Gemini is already in the dude. If you look here, I think that's what you're meaning. If you go into Simple Site Builder, I included all the major LLMs, the modern versions of them, which was important to me. So down here, LLM model, I can zoom really huge. Look, Gemini 3. Gemini 3 Flash, GPT 5.2, even though he hates me, GPT 5 Mini, Sonnet 4.5, Opus 4.5, Haiku 4.5. So I think that's what you mean. I want to access Notebook. You are hanging on to that Notebook LM like nobody's business. You're my pal, John. I don't know what you mean by this. There is no API to connect Notebook LM, but you can connect Gemini and you can ask the dude if he can access things like that. I have no idea why or what you're talking about, because when we talked last, if you use Notebook LM, which I cannot stand LM, it's just, I don't understand the point of this. Notebook LM is doing what you've got in your site. Why would you do that when this whole thing exists in your site? It's like, what doesn't make sense to me is you're saying, can I connect this thing over here that's trying to do what I can already do over there? And it doesn't have an API and it's Google. So, all right, if Gemini can access it, ask Gemini. Because I'm selling a car with wheels and you're like, I have a car with wheels. Can you connect the car with wheels to the car with wheels? And I'm trying to explain that's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to achieve here, is that not use Notebook LM, use Gemini, that is the brain of Notebook LLM, inside of your own version of Notebook LLM, which is Simple Site. And doing otherwise goes back to the whole plugins on top of plugins on top of plugins thing. I don't want you to use another desktop agentic tool or cloud-based tool that has a layer removing you from what you can already do. All right. I'm going to refresh the page because he had said that he did some stuff. Let's actually see, first of all, let's validate. He installed WooCommerce, which is awesome. There is the store coming soon, which I did not ask him to turn off, which I'm going to ask him if he can turn it off, but I can turn it off myself. The reason being, the store coming soon, I mean, Marcus is asking if, John, you want to one-click content creation notebook, and I'm saying the same thing, which was, I do not understand the nature of that need, because what is it that you want to do that would be different or better than just creating your content to the end result? Because putting it in Notebook LM is like the same result as putting it into what you can do on your WordPress box that you own and control. That's the part I'm having trouble with. So help me understand the use case, and maybe I can figure that out too. Okay. I didn't ask him to turn on WooCommerce, by the way, but I'm just doing it manually just because I'm here. So he can probably do that too. I think WooCommerce was in like, hold on a second mode. Let's see if it created a product. Well, what you want to do, okay, now I understand. You created stuff in Notebook LLM and you want to get it the heck out of there. Get it the heck out of there. Tell Notebook LLM you want to export it and have it give it to you in a format, either through an API connection that it provides, or an LLM text, or a JSON file, so you can import it into something else, like custom content inside of the WordPress site. That, to me, makes sense. Continuing to use Notebook LLM does not make sense to me. I'm not saying you can't or you shouldn't. It's just I don't know how to build an illogical solution. Like, literally, that is duplicative. Like, I'll do one thing just to throw you a bone for this. I don't know what I've got in here, but if I took whatever I have, you have 300 notebook. Well, here's the thing I'm going to say. I love you as a human, and I love you as a client, and I love you as a person who's asking good questions, but I'm going to say I told you so, because when we first started doing this, I told you exactly what I was building and why, and you decided to build 300 notebooks. So maybe it lets you access this in some other way. Maybe you can set it up that the dude in your site can talk to this and pull it over. Maybe they're nice and let you export this. I'm not sure what tools are available, but you can always take, a full notebook and copy and paste the stuff. But that's outside the scope of today. I do not know how you get stuff in and out of here because I don't use this. But I would imagine they probably have to have some kind of an MCP or an LLM tool for doing that. Okay. In fact, if you asked it the question, can I export notebook LM to another LLM? Yes, you can export it to another, but there's no direct export button. Of course not, because John, the whole point I was saying, and I keep saying here, is Google is building a gilded cage for you. The same reason that you can't get your shit off of Facebook. The same reason why if you go into Canva, which I love, you can export images one at a time. Dan Dieso has just piped in and said they have an MCP. Oh, awesome. Can you share? Let's see if that's true. So Dan says somebody's got an MCP. Does Notebook LM have an MCP? Somebody has independently built an MCP, which is pretty cool. So maybe try one of these doodads with Claude or whatever. And if Claude can talk to that MCP, you can have him, her, it set up a pipeline to move it from there to here or vice versa. Okay. First of all, high fives to all you guys, because first of all, John, I love your questions. This is the right place for it. I'm not trying to be snarky, but I also love, I've got Dan Dieso over here talking in my text, and I've got Marcus. This is the community stuff that I always dreamed about. And by the way, I have not lost sight of the fact that I am going to be opening up that VIP. But part of what I'm showing you here is because I've been spending so much time on building these other things like Simple Site and getting real clients that I just kind of, pushed it back a tiny bit. All right. So to wrap this up, because I'm overdue to go for lunch with some friends and clients, he made the product, which is super awesome. Just if you think about it in terms of like whatever, if the only thing that he maybe screwed up here a little bit is he didn't put the price in it, but I'm going to ask him about that. I'll say $24. And this coming soon thing is just a weird WooCommerce thing that I'm not sure why, but they set the site to not be live. Next, he claims that he set up Simple Site with a block, but let's just see if he did that because I'm not sure that he did. It says Fernando's product sale. Oh, he actually did it. So let's see if he did it. I'm going to be pretty chuffed if he did it. Okay, so he created a thing. Fernando can set up a product, $24, buy now, did sales stuff, come on, guys. Like, not only is it in the same style as the rest of the stuff, but like he actually, used the language. And let's see if the product goes where it should. And it does. Now let's take it one step further and say, first of all, Bernardo, you are so freaking awesome. I love that. Can you change it from buy now taking us to the product page to instead use that image you used a minute ago of me that says brought to you by MinuteLaunch? Use that as the featured image and on the product, but make the buy now button, send it directly to checkout using the capability built into WooCommerce where you use the add-to-cart ? Equals kind of syntax and fix that up. Also on the side, we had a question from John Lawler and a couple of the other clients about, do you know of an easy way you can go to Notebook LLM or Notebook LM to bring in a lot of content to import it? That's a second question. Do the first thing first and then answer my second question. I want to point something out to you guys as well. I am on that pro plan of Anthropic, and they just introduced a new tool, which is a desktop tool that is Claude Cowork. And I think it's fascinating because Claude Cowork, this is not available to everybody yet, but this is an agentic tool that has the same kind of skills that we've already got available to us with our cursor, but for mainstream, where you can give it complex multi-step tasks and it can execute them on your behalf. And you can give it access like we already have to your files and your folders and the whatever. But what I'm saying is we're inching closer in mainstream even to what we can already do with MinuteLaunch, which is if you use a desktop tool like Claude or Cursor, you can quite literally give it a bunch of things to do when you're here or not, and it could just report back and say, I'm all done. Okay. So I'm going to finish with this once he's done. But again, I have to say, like, I feel I'm so wildly excited. Dan Diezo is watching. So Dan and I think you're still there, Dan, but Dan Diezo and I are doing some conversations about various products and services. So in addition to the, using this front end kind of capability, the UBR coach, I have this trike community, the flying community. And one of the things that I was talking to Dan about, I have some experiments I was running here of, I think that my audience of people who fly these really cool machines called trikes is going to be interested in giving me $5 a month or $50 a year to take a picture of them. For some reason, the old pictures aren't showing. I got to refresh this or something. But if you can see it without me zooming in too much, if you have, imagine with all my trike pilots, they've got pictures of them and they're flying machines and their pictures kind of look like this. And I said to it, what if for $5 a month, $50 a year, I give them a certain number of credits, and it does two things. Number one is it lets them organize all of the details they need about their machine and its registration and its maintenance and a picture of it, and like create a database of machines, which is really useful for pilots in lots of different ways because you have lots of paperwork and maintenance and records and stuff. But the fun thing is that it can take any picture of them or their passengers or people and turn it into rock and roll t-shirts style suitable for printing on something like Printful, right? So if, for example, it took my picture and made this, I'll save this trike expense. I'll save that here. Or I asked it to make different styles of it. So I said, make it look yellow. I said, do a fun one like cartoony, and it made it like this. I said, do some different styles. But the point is that money gives them a library of stuff that they already, they have the assets, they have the pictures, they have the trikes, they have themselves, and they could do on their own and go to something like a Printful. I don't need to even be in this chain of sale. Okay. I just need to give them something that's ready to go with Printful. So like, for example, it's so weird. I thought I was already signed into this. So let me see if I can just sign in real quick. Printful is print on demand. So why is it so weird? I thought I was signed in, but let me just, okay. Order for myself. Okay. Test my designs. Okay. Too many questions, by the way. I don't know why this is happening here. So let me just go and see if I get to my main point. Here we go. So what I was doing is like, let's say order for myself, explore product, and it's a t-shirt, it's a hat, it's a mug, whatever. Like here's men's clothing. Whatever, here's a shirt. The point is start designing, and then you can take whatever the color is, and Printful makes it super easy with an API or otherwise to just upload the image. So I would make this all automatic, right? Like here's trike and roll, right? If I make it all automatic, somebody can very simply take whatever that they've designed and send it to their friends, send it to their family. And what's cool is, I use the low res image here, but let me just to show you what it is. They just make like a super cool t-shirt or hat or something else that they can share with their friends and family or send it as a gift. That's the kind of stuff that's Purple Cow marketing. That's the kind of stuff that, like, just bear with me. When I make that tool for myself, for my audience, I'm 100% going to make it a tool for all of you guys to use. Why? Because Imagine we did the same thing. I'm at an event and I meet some cool people and I want to do business. I'm going to make a freaking cool mug or hat and send that to them. And they're going to have that every day of the week, powered by MinuteLaunch, staring them at the face every single day. When I take this image, save image as, powered by MinuteLaunch. Okay. Every single moment of every day, they're going to be using that mug. If I go here to products, Printful, by the way, is usually much easier than this, but for some reason I'm having like just a real ton of time with their little designer tool. Leave. Okay. So if I go order for myself and I go explore products and I will buy them a coffee mug. And this will, by the way, I don't think I want to be involved in the chain of sale because I don't want to deal with returns and all that stuff. But if I go in here and hats, accessories, pins, bags, laptop cases, I know they've got mugs in here. Cups. There's got to be a coffee cup, I'm sure. Here. So white glossy mug. By the way, I know of this because Luke Stacy, who used to work with me, did this for me, and I use that sucker every single morning. So I take that design. Part of the tool will be to make this just one step easy, but you'll be able to, let's upload the new MinuteLaunch one, powered by MinuteLaunch. And by the way, Dan, who's listening, is in a business that does this with computer cases. So he knows this is like, people are spending all this extra money so that Dan and his company can put their logo on their thing, on their computer case. That's the whole point. So now somebody's going to have this great mug that's going to have, you know, powered by MinuteLaunch and our good time on it. Every time they think of who to call, they're going to call Ghostbusters. No, they're going to call Spence. Okay. Last but not least, let's see if my dude updated what he did. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to sneak under the hood, and then I got to get going because lunch is talking to my tummy. Okay, I think he did it. It says by now. So let's see if we update it. Save all changes. Preview site. Should go direct to checkout. And it does. So I am amazed, considering that I started off with a headache and so slow, at how incredible things are going. So in the how it's going, I'm excited about 2026. I hope you guys are as well. And so for those of you who are on the fence about this, we have everything you need at a price that includes the affiliate. So like, you know, all of you guys have had this conversation with me, but the $97 a month is host it yourself or your clients can host it. No support from me, no talking to me. Don't email me. I don't want to know who you are, but you get all the goodies. The traditional software is still $5,000-$6,000 of stuff, all of the AI stuff, but no support, no hosting, no emails to Spence, but pretty awesome. And if you refer a client, that's $20 a month, $240 a year for no support. If you do the $197 a month, you get all the support, all the hosting, the CDN, the cloud, everything else, and you get $40 a month if you refer a customer. By the way, in both of those instances, you could just be the middle person and take the discount. You pay me for a new client, you support them, and you essentially, I'm willing to give you the affiliate referral as a discount. So you just take it wholesale. And the $497 a month with the marketing and Spence's sort of, you know, mini baby concierge there, that's $100 a month, $97 a month. So that's $1,200 a year for just sending somebody over. And I give them a tool that for most real estate brokers, professionals, that $497 a month is every single thing they need. Plus, like I just showed you, just 3 seconds with the dude, add WooCommerce, add a product for a booking, and you're done. And by the way, if Ann is watching this or comes back or watches later, like this is the thing that Ann and I 2 years ago, and when my back went out in May of 2023, were struggling with to teach her and other people how to do. And it took me weeks to get some proficiency. Now I'm able to do it in like, oh, I started the webinar at 10:02 late, and here, let me do this live. And I mean, come on. One last thing. Dan is saying the interesting use case for Notebook LLM is curated content. I'm going to make one last comment about this because I do feel that John and Dan and Marcus and everybody has a point. Like, there are tools that I use. Like, I just showed you guys using. I use Gemini. I use Claude. Like, there are use cases. But what I think everybody should understand is, don't keep your shit in other places when I'm giving you a black box that makes it easy to aggregate it all in one spot. Why? Because I am a cautionary tale in real life of building a business on the invitation of Mark Andreessen and his $100 million company, Loud Cloud, turned into Ning, to build a social network about anything. And I did. And I did so much fun stuff that I started building and selling it for 12,500 other people who were told, put all your stuff in Ning. It's awesome. And then one day they realized they're not making the money they wanted to. So they shut everybody down and took away all their stuff. Don't be that cautionary tale, because in the Google world, I paid, like most of you, nothing to get started on Google Workspace. I have 12 Google Workspace accounts. I have the wording there that says they specifically promise it will be free forever. I have in my hands time-sensitive documents here, a postcard, one of these, that says I am now a member of a class action against you know who. Google. Why? Because everybody else who heard and did the same thing now has to pay $12 to $16 a month per seat for the very same thing that was promised in writing to be free forever on Google Workspace. These fuckers lie to you, and they will continue to lie to you, just like I'm watching a movie with my son last night on Prime Video that I pay a premium for, and I have to sit through commercials unless I pay another $3. And with Netflix, I have to pay more money, not for another TV, but for another geographic area. They're all lying to you because they don't honor a personal promise. And sorry to swear, I made it all the way till the end without swearing. What I'm saying is, don't put 300 things on Google LLM or Notebook LLM, because, John, tomorrow you're going to wake up and they're going to charge you $100 for every one of those notebooks. Put it on a box you own and control. Take all of your stuff and put it there, and forever, Uncle Spence is guaranteeing you, with my face, my name, my personal promise, it is yours. You can take it. You know you can take it and leave anytime, because WordPress, even as Mullenweg has gotten in the past, he's never doubled back on the open source because there's too much at stake, and he's already in class action litigation himself about breaking other promises that he made. So even Mullenweg, the open source group, is in litigation about crazy behavior. There's a brain disease going around in the tech industry that lets them think that they can choose money over people and promises. And I can't emphasize enough, do not be lured into doing things that you don't need to do on another platform. Okay, having said that, I had a wonderful time with you guys this morning. I'm really excited because the simplicity and the tools are all here. That update system, amazing. If you are having trouble, Marcus, you had said, thank you. Marcus and Cheryl, a few other people are having trouble. I am going to be inventorying everybody's stuff and bringing you up to speed so you're in the new Pufka server. There's one other thing I want to show to you, just as a hint, just because it's like relevant to this topic. I have now created a new server dedicated to managing all of this business so that I can scale this to tens or hundreds of thousands of people. If you need to get the latest version of the MinuteLaunch server plugin, the plugin manager, it's just pufka.com ML. And what it'll do is it'll download the plugin, but the plugin itself won't do anything yet. It'll just be there, but it'll have like placeholder stuff, because the whole point of this is I want to make it that I can distribute this to thousands of people easily, but without you having to type in your passwords or your, keys or blah, blah, blah. And that requires me to make sure that I've got a system from like inception to management of the relationship, from the point where you buy it or get it from me to the point where you say, I'm done and I'm paying. And this is what this plugin manager does. And it was like, through trial and error that I got here, because this was a lot of like, well, maybe try the key, maybe do the password, maybe do whatever. And so if you started today and you took a new site, even on InstaWP, you should get this. Let's see what actually happens. It should be the MinuteLaunch plugin server, but you have the canvas block for free, but all the other stuff should be probably not available to you until or unless you register to buy. But this is what I'm saying. This weekend, I'm going to audit everybody's accounts and make sure everybody who's got a particular thing is going to have just Marie Kondo style of like updating what it's called and what you get and what you understand. Even the people who are on Launch Kit and Launch Flows, they will have MinuteLaunch plugin manager as the thing that gives them what they need, so that everybody's just using the same tools and Uncle Spence can continue 2026 on a positive note. It's really weird here why it's taking long for InstaWP to launch a site, because usually that's immediate. Let's just refresh the page because I want to go to lunch. You probably want to go to lunch. Okay. So I'm not sure what this site is. So let me just go and use it because I just want to make a point. If I go to plugins and I add one plugin, that is the gateway to all happiness. Downloads. I'm going to do MinuteLaunch plugin manager. Activate. And this is what I should see. I should see the plugin manager, but none of the stuff, hopefully. Right. So you're going to see this. You can see the get started guide, hopefully. Right. Right. You can see the plugin manager, but there's not even the physical plugins. All you have is just a demo calculator, because I need you to be registered to the Pufka server to have authority to get this. But this is how I can bypass all of the shenanigans of the old plugin system of WordPress and all the crazy weird stuff that's going on there, because anything I'm delivering can be managed and maintained in a super simple way here. Ta-da. Okay. I love you guys. I want to thank you for taking the extra time today. I'm super excited. I've priced this in a way, no matter what your financial situation, you can be an intermediary, bring your clients, bring your customers. They can pay $97 a month and you're making $240 a year. $197 a month, you're making $480 a year. You can have me do the work or you do the work on top of it and you just take the wholesale price. If they have a need for replacing tools, we're going to compete by comparing it to the other tools and the complexity of those tools and demonstrating immediately. They own it, they control it, a couple clicks, they get everything they need for less than the cost. And even Notebook LM, false promises will not be something to worry about, because they will always have full control over everything. And as simple as I'm doing today, and I didn't, by the way, take the code like I promised, but you're just going to have to trust me. I can even have the code from another LLM brought in and turned into a plugin by the dude or otherwise. Okay. Thanks. I'll be talking to you guys over the weekend. See you next week. Ciao.